It's the Mustang Insider Show. Now, here's Chris Sylvester, the voice of the Mustangs.
What's going on, Mustang fans? Welcome to the Mustang Insider, talking all things Cal Poly athletics. It is the middle of the wrestling season. I guess it's kind of the beginning of the wrestling season, but it certainly feels like it's in full swing. The fall sports are in the rear view. Winter sports are starting to heat up. More and more home games on the docket upcoming for men's and women's basketball. Lots to be excited from the little bit we've seen from both of those programs. Before we get going, per usual, we'd like to thank Dignity Health French Hospital, making this podcast possible. Award-winning, high-quality, safe medical care that you can trust is just around the corner at French Hospital Medical Center. Proud supporters of Cal Poly Athletics. Learn more at dignityhealth.org/French Hospital. So really excited to dive into it with Jon Sioredas embarking on his 8th season. I guess he's already in his 8th season as the Cal Poly Wrestling head coach, reigning Pac-12 champions, reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year. What does the outlook of the program look like? Not only this season, losing some key pieces off that title team a year ago, but what does the future of Cal Poly Wrestling in the Pac-12 hold? There's been so much conference realignment. Most of the Pac-12 has either gone to the Big Ten, the Big 12, a couple of those teams in the Bay Area going to the ACC. What does that mean for Cal Poly Wrestling? We'll ask that and a multitude of other questions as we welcome in Jon Sioredas, Cal Poly Wrestling head coach. All right, Coach, appreciate you taking some time, man. I mean, you work in college athletics, and this is your 8th year as the Cal Poly head coach. It's kind of, and I have trouble explaining this to people, but it's kind of hard to like get all the way in like the holiday spirit when you're knee deep in your season. Do you kind of sense that? I mean, I know you've been in this sport for a long time, and this is just kind of the thick of your season here as you get ready for conference play after the calendar switches to the next year. But I mean, you kind of feel me on that sentiment? Like it's hard to really get fully ingrained into like the holiday spirit when you have so much work and so many matches on your plate in the near future.
It is. You spend a lifetime in a winter sport and you almost forget about what the holiday activities are, right? Someone asked me the other day if I've been skiing or snowboarding, and I think maybe once my entire life, because we're training through Christmas and in high school and college and coaching, and yeah, it's part of it. But it also, I think there's something in the air too, because once the weather starts to cool off a little bit, you start to feel like it's wrestling season. So
Right.
so it's pretty cool. And then we get our spring and summer being in the off season. So I'll take winter sport any day of the week as long as we're indoor sport.
Emphasis on just a little cool, because we're still pretty lucky with the weather stuff here on the Central Coast. I think yesterday it was like 75 degrees here in SLO. It's just like, looked like a beach day. So mentioned this is your 8th season, man, and I mean what a remarkable turnaround. And I know you're as humble as they come, but from taking over this program, a winless program that didn't have a whole lot of culture, didn't have a whole lot of direction. You'd be surprised when I tell people I work in Cal Poly Athletics that most everybody begins conversations with, well, I mean, how about the wrestling program? I mean, that's how much of an impact you've been able to make in less than a decade at the helm. Take me through maybe some of the recruiting conversations that you had with coaches and high school programs, prep programs, and stuff like that when you first got the job. And do you notice a pendulum swing and just the respect that Cal Poly Wrestling gets now that you've established yourselves? You guys have won a Pac-12 championship. You're the reigning Pac-12 Coach of the Year. I mean, got to be night and day from your first few months on the job.
It is. It absolutely is. I think when you take a step back and you take the 30,000-foot view, we've accomplished a lot. We really have. And I think sometimes we need to recognize that and, be grateful for the work that we put in. But it was a ton of work. I mean, it was those first 5 years, they were challenging, to say the least. I mean, they were very, very challenging. And, those conversations with hiring coaches and recruiting, they were more challenging back then. But we tended to attract the visionaries, the believers, right? Those early guys that they knew we weren't there yet, but that we could get there, like the Brawley Lamers. He's one of my first recruits, and obviously a lot of his brothers have since followed him here to Cal Poly. And, some of my coaching staff, Coach Tui's been with me. This is year 6 now. And, it takes a special person to come into a situation that we're facing and to come in and just continue to focus on improvement. That's it, nothing more. And yeah, pretty remarkable. 5 years, we went from dead last to finishing in the top 25. And year 6, we broke into the top 10 when we had Evan Wick transfer in, and we still had Bernie on the team. And then year 7 last year, we're Pac-12 dual meet champions. So so the upward trajectory is there. This year in particular, I thought might be a little bit of, hate to use the word rebuilding, but we turned over 6 of our 10 starters. Six guys graduated. 5 of the 6 were NCAA qualifiers. 2 were multiple-time All-Americans. So on paper, yeah, it should be a rebuilding year. But I knew we were young and scrappy, and I love being in the position that we are, where we're chasing, right? We're not protecting. We're in a situation where there's a lot of upsets because we have some freshmen in the team. We have a really, really young team this year, 0 seniors in our lineup from an eligibility standpoint. And it's just really exciting. And our guys are progressing faster than ever. I think we're improving as coaches and leaders, and we're learning how to do a better job on the coaching side. And I think our guys are buying in and have a great attitude, and we're having fun, man. It's I was just talking to someone this morning, and they were asking me about the job. I'm like, this is the most fun I've ever had. I love this team. I love my coaches. I love our progression, our trajectory. And we're having a lot of fun with each other.
Well, your program has already notched a national ranking for the 4th straight year, reaching as high as 17th in the Flow Wrestling Team Tournament rankings. Currently 26th. Now, last week you went out to Las Vegas for the Cliff Keen Invitational. That had 16 of the top 25's teams in the country. Basically, like a mini NCAA championship. Way before we actually get there, you had 3 guys make it to the quarterfinals: Seth Romney, Chance Lamer, and Adam Kemp. You did have a couple of injuries that forced a couple of those guys to medically forfeit. But what was it like to be invited to such a prestigious early season invitational? And what were your takeaways from what you saw from your guys out there?
I'm really pleased. We're really happy with our effort. I thought we came out of the gate and wrestled incredibly well. We have 2 freshmen at 125 and 133. So Don Mendez knocks off a returning All-American right out of the gate, and then proceeds to wrestle the kid from Purdue, who's been #1 in the country, to a 1 exchange match. And so he's proven that he's ready now. Like, there's no sense in waiting. Let's try to have success right now. And the same thing with Seth Romney. He knocks off 2 ranked guys and finds himself in the quarterfinals of the tournament. And then, of course, our stars, Adam Kemp and Chance Lamer, are both ranked in the top 6, top 7 in the country. They made it to the quarters and suffered some injuries. It's part of the sport, right? It's part of the sport. We had a couple other weight classes as well, too. I thought we wrestled really, really hard and really well, and we're starting to get some traction. So we're a little further along than I anticipated, and it showed. It showed, because when you see on paper upset after upset after upset, that's the telltale that what we're doing is working, and we're doing it the right way. And it was a little weird and bizarre coming home early from the tournament, because you have to make it to the placing rounds for day 2, and the fact that both Chance Lamer and Adam Kemp both medically forfeited. Legend Lamer, another one of our stars, medically forfeited. We had a couple other guys that are just pretty banged up. So I made the joke, we didn't need a bus coming back from Vegas. We needed an ambulance. I mean, we are as banged up as they come right now. But fortunately, all short-term injuries, and we have a 4-week hiatus here before the Midlands Championships. So we'll have just enough time to get healed up and get some good technical training under our belt, jump on the video, fine tune a little bit. And we'll have the Midlands and then a week off, and then we'll roll right into our dual meet schedule, January and February.
Now, currently you have 4 nationally ranked wrestlers on the roster. You look at the tenure that you've had here at Cal Poly, and you've produced NCAA All-Americans each of the last 4 years at the NCAA Championships. Evan Wick, who completed his tenure as a 4-time All-American. Bernie Truax, of course, who graduated 3-time All-American. And way back before you really got this thing off the ground, Tom Lane, during the COVID year, was going to be an All-American before the championships were canceled. I know you mentioned some of those returners, and obviously Kemp and the Lamer brothers are household names at this juncture in their Cal Poly wrestling careers. But mention those All-Americans. What guys on this roster do you feel like kind of have that All-American pedigree? And who are some youngsters that Cal Poly wrestling fans might not know off the top of their head right now, but you feel like come season end, they're going to be household names like the few guys I just mentioned?
So becoming an All-American is a tall task. I mean, it's a tall order. We're talking about the best of the best of the best, and the marquee event in our sport. I mean, it's unbelievable seeing the level of success that some of these individuals are reaching, and being part of that has been awesome. It's been a blessing, and really is just the fruits of the labor of the young man that put the work in day after day. We had a few other guys. Trevor Tinker, heavyweight, coming off medical red shirt. He's ready to go. He's ready to go now. So his first date back this year will be Midlands, and not medical redshirt, but coming off an injury in the off season. So he'll be at the Midlands. So we're looking forward to him and seeing where he's at. He's progressed nightly. He's put some weight on. 6'7", 260, and still has a six pack and moves like a cat. So he's really doubled down in his wrestling and his technique and strategy and tactics. So super excited for him. I mentioned Don Mendez, Seth Romney as well, the two freshmen that are starting to get a lot of traction. Legend Lamer is another one, healing up a injury right now, but we get him close to 100% and click, and he's proven he can wrestle with the best guys. He was the number 9 seed at the NCAA championships his freshman year. So he's another one that, we expect big things from. And then we got a couple older guys, Kendall LaRosa, Jared Priest, just hard working blue collar guys that are quietly getting better and quietly wrestling one exchange matches with some of the best guys in the country. So it's exciting up and down the lineup. Abe Heinrichson's another one who continues to improve. He looked really good in Vegas. So we got a number of guys. Michael Goldfeder just transferred in from UNC Chapel Hill. He's out with injury right now, but he'll be back for Midland. So everything's teeing up. So I think the big thing right now is get healthy, get these guys as close to 100% as possible, and let's see where we're at as a team, because I think we got 10 guys in our lineup that can battle at a very high level, and we're going to get people fits. I can't wait.
Sounds like you guys have done a nice job of kind of adjusting to this day and age of college athletics and, prioritizing the portal. Obviously, you've brought in a ton of kids from high school that you've been able to develop over the years. And by the time they become upperclassmen, I mean, you've led them to All-American NCAA championship type careers. I look at Chance Lamer, who comes in from Michigan, Adam Kemp, when the Fresno State program went under. You guys were quick to get him. Among some others, Evan Wick, right, coming from Wisconsin. You see the other side of that with Bernie, I believe, at Penn State now. So what's the recruiting philosophy, and how crazy is the NCAA wrestling transfer portal compared to kind of what we're hearing with college football the other day? They opened up their transfer portal, had over 1,000 guys in there on the first official day, and that there's another 2,000 or 3,000 that are going to try to find what they feel is a better home for them. So when you're in living rooms, when you're on Zoom calls with families and all that stuff, what's the pitch to try and get these guys to Cal Poly, and what goes behind maybe looking in the portal and maybe looking at high school and prep guys?
So we're primarily a developmental school, meaning we're always going to recruit the best high school talent possible and then put time and energy and effort into their development and get them to where they need to be. And then we'll cherry pick the portal. There's typically somewhat of a pre-existing relationship or some sort of connection with some of the stars we've gotten out of the portal. But you're right, the last 3 years we've pulled one of the top transfers in the country. At first with Evan Wick, who ended up being a 4-time All-American. We got Dom Demas the following year from OU, who was a 2-time All-American, finished top 16 for us. And now we just got Chance Lamer, who was a round of 12 as a freshman, is currently ranked top 5 in the country, and we got him for 3 more years. Of course, Lamer's had his brother. Dom Demas has some California ties, and Evan Wick's from California as well too. So I think what happens, particularly with mid-major programs like ours, is it is challenging to get the multiple blue chip athletes when they're typically going to the Big 10 or some of the Big 12 legacy schools. More resources, right? A little bit, big bright lights, and it's challenging. We still go after them, absolutely, and we'll get a couple, no doubt about it. But a lot of those guys have their sights set on going to the big school, and then what happens a lot of times is a year will go by, or 2 or 3 years, and they'll realize it's not what it's all hyped up to be. And when you're lifting a 45-pound dumbbell, the weight weighs the same, whether it's in a 30,000 foot facility or a little tunnel down in the bottom of Mott. I mean, it doesn't matter. It weighs the same, and you win with people. And I think when these young men start to mature a little bit, and I was a transfer, I went to a Power 5 out of the gate, and I transferred to a mid-major, so I have a different perspective. And we look through the lens of you win with people, and we have a great coaching staff, phenomenal coaching staff. We have great workout partners, and we wrestle a national schedule. We go to all the best tournaments. We try to wrestle all the best teams we can get our hands on, and to prepare us for NCAA. So you got to do both. It's a hybrid recruiting model. So we absolutely will develop, but we'll also cherry pick a little bit and recruit out of the portal if it makes sense. We're not in a position to take any risk. We're not going to pull someone out of the portal just because they're competent in wrestling. Their core values have to be aligned. Obviously, there's the academic component here at Cal Poly as well too. And just looking at their character and their work ethic and making sure it's a good fit. And then from there, we continue the conversation. But it's a pretty sought after place, this Cal Poly, right? I mean, not only is it, you live in one of the nicest areas in the world. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. Academic profile is, Ivy League standards is basically what it is. And now, we got a perennial top 25 wrestling program that's seen some time in the top 10 and top 20. So we kind of got the trifecta moving forward. So we're in a position now where it's a little bit more selection than recruiting, because it's such a small world and people know what we're about and what we're doing. And we still recruit hard, but that phone call is a little easier to make now.
Jon Sioredas, head coach of Cal Poly Wrestling, our guest. Mustangs back in action after the Christmas holiday out in the Midlands in Illinois, hosted by Northwestern before opening up more of a home-heavy schedule. You guys did have a couple of home meets early November. It's just been great to see the crowds and the atmosphere in Mott just continue to grow seemingly year by year. I got to ask you, you guys are in the Pac-12. There's a lot of uncertainty around the Pac-12 right now and the future of the Pac-12. 10 of the 12 in the majority of the sports have already bolted for other conferences. Oregon State, Washington State, kind of trying to figure out what they're going to do next. How has that affected Pac-12 wrestling? And what do you know right now about the future of Cal Poly wrestling in the Pac-12 or maybe going elsewhere?
So definitely a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, we're going to finish this year in the Pac-12. I think a lot right now is a lot of eyes on Oregon State and what they're going to do, because they're the remaining Pac program that has a wrestling team. And I know their football team scheduling with the Mountain West. Well, the Mountain West has Wyoming and Air Force. So you need 3 legacy schools to have a conference. So that would work moving forward, especially with the affiliates with us, Bakersfield and Little Rock. We could come together and create something there. There's the option of going to the Big 12. They have a ton of affiliate members right now. I don't know how viable that is, but that's part of the conversation. And then maybe even starting something of our own. There used to be this thing called the Western Wrestling Conference, and it had a lot of those schools out in the Mountain West together, and it looked very similar. There's a lot of mid-major programs. So a lot of ideas on the table. We do have a little bit of a period. So if, for example, all of next year, Oregon State's still trying to figure out what they're going to do, where they're going to go. So we could still have Pac-12 wrestling with our members and have just a smaller tournament and try to figure this thing out. So there's actually a 2-year grace period that's built in. Now there's some criteria that we're going to have to massage a little bit from a qualifying standpoint, but all early indicators are saying the NCAA knows that it's not the student athletes. It wasn't their choice to be in this predicament. And so they're going to work with us. And one thing I know about wrestling is we take care of each other. And this morning I was on the phone with Little Rock. I was on the phone with Bakersfield. I was on the phone with Oregon State, as well as the assistant commissioner at the Pac-12, just making sure we're all on the same page, talking through ideas. And I can honestly say I feel really, really good about where we're at. Not to mention Ashley Offerman, our associate AD, sits on the NCAA Wrestling Championships Committee. So he's with Anthony Holman, and they're meeting regularly, and they're having deep discussions about what this is going to look like. So I feel pretty good about where we're at right now. And I think if I could have the choice, I would like a smaller conference. I think it makes a lot of sense, but to be determined at this point.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting. It's kind of it's hard to believe still. I mean, I don't think I'm going to put 2 and 2 together that Rutgers and USC are in the same conference, or Oklahoma State and Arizona State being in the same conference. It's so crazy, and maybe we'll get used to it eventually. It is kind of sad to see a lot of these West region programs kind of throwing geography out the window. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for programs like wrestling, and I'm happy that you mentioned that, because obviously the top dollar kind of drives the boat here, and that's college football, and there's really no close second. When you look at the money that college football is bringing into conferences and programs, and it's all behind the TV deals. So blame the people working behind the media scenes and stuff like that. You guys, after going out to Illinois to close out the calendar year, you'll be back home, and it's a home heavy stretch. I mentioned 2 on January 12th. American University, Northern Colorado come here. Air Force bookends that weekend. They come for a Sunday matinee. And then you open Pac-12 play January 19th in Corvallis against Oregon State. Quick turnaround, come home and host Cal State Bakersfield. As you look at the January into February, so on and so forth schedule, what do you need to see from certain guys at the Ken Kraft Midlands Championships to feel really good about things opening the Pac-12 schedule just a few weeks after that?
So we need our guys to go deep in the tournament. I mean, this is an opportunity to wrestle some of the best. It's not going to be as deep as the Cliff Keen Las Vegas invite, but it's going to be very, very tough tournament. There's going to be some really good teams out there and some really, really solid individuals. So our guys, this is an opportunity for them to go out and get some ranked wins and pre-allocate the spot. So it's an opportunity for them to go ahead and punch their ticket for the NCAA championship. Because essentially, if you're ranked in the top 20, you're going to go to NCAAs. That's the way the criteria works, and it takes a lot of the guessing. And at large wild card, there's a set of criteria that they look at. It's winning percentage, it's RPI, and it's coaches ranking. But the coaches ranking really is the telltale. If you're in the top 20, you're in a really, really good spot. They don't leave too many top 20 guys home. So that's our opportunity for a number of our guys to go get a couple quality wins and see where we're at and keep moving forward, keep progressing. And then it's dual meet season, and we love dual meets. Dual meets are fun. I think we have a tightly knit team. There's a lot of camaraderie. You had mentioned the fans that we're getting, the turnout we're getting in Mott, and it is. I mean, each year it's been better and better, and that place gets rocking and rolling. It is a hard place to wrestle in for those teams traveling to SLO, and it's exciting and it's fun. And I feel like when you have the team component in an individual sport, it just magnifies what we're doing. And then, of course, we typically start at 125. So when you got Trevor Tinker walking out there, our 6'7" heavyweight, and the match is on the line, he's the closer. Everyone is getting into it, and it's a lot of fun. So we're excited. I think we have a very, very strong schedule this year. And we do that by design. We want to go out and wrestle the best competition. We need to know where we're at, and we need to get exposed. And when we get exposed, it basically exposes areas that we can improve on. And now we can go back to the drawing board, watch the video, tighten up our technique, talk a little strategy, talk a little tactics, and get better and move forward and keep progressing, and ultimately get ready for the Pac-12 championships and the NCAA tournament.
Oh, Trevor Tinker, man, you talk about that guy. I think Paul Wolf would like to have his body on his offensive line. Larry Lee would like to have his closer mindset manning the ninth innings. Same can be said for Coach Jenny Condon in softball, closing out some games, especially how Trevor's been able to close out a lot of wins for you guys in his time at Cal Poly. Certainly looking forward to having him make his season debut later this month in Illinois. Coach, thanks so much for taking some time. Congratulations on all the success that you've had in your tenure at Cal Poly, and we're looking forward to watching another Pac-12 title come on home this year.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you having me.
This has been the Mustang Insider Show. The preceding has been a Learfield's presentation on the Cal Poly Sports Network.